Hello, this is Jason P. Wilson, Zero in X-Force, and this is my Marvel, DC, and independent comic pull list for the week of June 6th, 2012, and today is 11th. It is Monday. And first up here, well, I'll do my Marvels, and first up for my Marvels is Uncanny X-Men number 13. Now, I want to say first that one of the things I've really been enjoying on Uncanny X-Men lately is Greg Land's artwork. I think Land has been an exceptional fit for Uncanny X-Men. Before he started doing the books, I thought it was okay. But when he started doing the illustrations and pencils and stuff, I was like, I don't know, it was that little boost of enjoyment that I needed to really start getting into Uncanny X-Men again. And his runs have been my absolute favorite. This is the first book that he hasn't been on in a while, and this one's actually done by Billy Tan. And the pencil work that he does is good. It's solid. It has its moments, but for someone who's a big Land fan, I really enjoyed his work on Ultimate, Fantastic Four, and other things. And it's just something about his artwork. Now, he definitely has a certain style to him. Probably some people like it, and some people don't. But I actually love it. He has this thing he does where the females look like almost like fashion models, almost like fashion ads, and it just seems to work in a comic book setting. It makes it fun. So I've really been enjoying his runs here. So. Even though he didn't do this book, I still enjoyed it. The writing's still there, and the writing has been pretty solid on Uncanny X-Men lately. And the only negative thing here about the writing would be if you're not reading Avengers vs. X-Men, then just reading Uncanny X-Men right now is like pretty much pointless because it would make little or to no sense to you. Read with that summer event though. It's a nice compliment. That's the only thing. Like, you really have to read some of these events that happen, because if you just read the X books, you're just reading, Uncanny X-Men and Wolverine and the X-Men, and you weren't reading the summer events, Avengers versus X-Men, then you kind of would be like not caring about the story right now at all. So I assume that most people are probably reading the Avengers versus X-Men summer event, so it's a nice compliment to that. I do think that even though Billy Tan isn't Land, I still do and think his artwork is a decent fit. What's going on in here? Obviously, I don't want to do any spoilers, but the Phoenix has been taking over people and things have been changing. And it was actually a nice surprise, and that actually leads up to my next Marvel, and that is Avengers vs. X-Men Round 5. Yeah, it's actually my favorite one so far. I've been enjoying it, I think, maybe more than a lot of people. I kind of took A vs. X, and then, of course, the Complement Versus series as what it was, a summer blockbuster movie. Not super great writing, but okay writing, but really kind of fun stuff happening. So lots of fights, that kind of stuff. So I knew it was going to be that. I wasn't expecting the depth that's in like DC's Night of the Owls, even though there's action in that, there's a lot more undertone and stuff. But here with Round 5, they're really getting deeper in the writing, and it's not so much a beat 'em up book as it is something sort of turning into like Second Coming. Now, Second Coming had a really nice build up, and it had a really great finale. So the build up wasn't here like that was, but still they're starting to really get the depth of the storyline here. And with the return of the Phoenix and what's going on, I really think this is the best and definitely the strongest book so far from Avengers vs. X-Men. I really enjoyed it, and even though you probably could wait till trade, for the most part, if you're reading the X books, you don't want to do that. You want to go ahead and just read a series as it comes out in singles. So next up here are my DCs, and I'll start with the anticipated Minutemen. This is the Before Watchmen, the first one. Now, of all the ones, this was probably the least excited book that was coming out for me. Minutemen was a cool concept, but I was really wanting to read Rorschach and Silk Spectre and the Comedian and Dr. Manhattan. All of them, really. This is my least favorite, but if I'm going to get all the others, I might as well get this one. It was the first one to come out. Now I'm kind of curious. I have a question to throw out there. My comic store actually only had 20 people that had this in their saver. In general, just the Before Watchmen books, and I was really surprised on that because it's such a huge deal. Now he was saying that, well, maybe they should have done Before Watchmen when the Watchmen movie came out, but because of the timing, that maybe a lot of people weren't just caring to read Watchmen. I have a different theory, though. I think what's happening is a lot of people are going to wait for the trade. I mean, a lot of people have Watchmen in trade form. In fact, after the movies came out, people went back and they bought a bunch of Watchmen graphic novels. So that's I think a lot of the readers ended up reading Watchmen. So collectors like me like to pick up the singles, but I think a lot of people are just going to wait for the trade, and that one is going to sell quite a bit. But here in Sacramento, anyway, it's a lot of people are interested in it, but they're not putting it in their saver as much as they're maybe thinking about reading it. Anyways, I'm just kind of curious if you guys have a ton of people. Like, I thought this was going to be completely hard to get, but there end up being quite a bit even after people picked up. So kind of curious if it's the same, or maybe you're having a sold out issue with this particular Before Watchmen stuff at your comic store. So let me know. But I actually enjoyed this. The first thing I liked about it was the upgrade in paper. I am a big fan of a higher quality paper in my comics. Now, anyone who reads Marvel and Independents and DCs and all that stuff, you know the difference. DC and Marvel, they have much thinner paper, and IDW and Dynamic and all these other, Image, all these other comics, they have nice, thick, heavyweight paper that feels good when you're reading it. So it's not quite as good as the best independent, paper out there, but it's definitely a big upgrade from your average DC or Marvel comic book. So I'm really glad DC decided to do that. It's definitely, it's in the cover, a nice thick cover, but you also have a quality increase in the pages. So that was a nice touch. I wasn't expecting that. Now, of course, of all the Before Watchmen, I think this is the most cartoony in graphics, but I'm totally okay with that. I like that kind of cartoony look sometimes, like with Batman Beyond, that kind of stuff. It works. And even though I initially was not into the Minutemen, I was just getting it because I was getting everything else, I have to say I kind of got myself enjoying it. Now, this is mostly an introduction to a lot of characters, but what I was really liking is I'm liking, like, you're seeing the young first Night Owl. And for me, I really enjoyed Watchmen's director's cut, because you got to see a lot more of his character and how he dies in the film and everything. And then you got to see the reaction to the current Owlman and how he reacted to his death. He overreacted and was very emotional. So that was really cool in the director's cut of Watchmen. And so for that, I was really interested in this character, to see more of him, what he was like in his prime, that kind of thing. And even though it was mostly an introduction, so for people that know these characters, it's a bit of a, yeah, I already know this. But it's a great introduction to people who have not read Watchmen before, or maybe they just don't remember. and that's probably why Minutemen came out first. So I thought it was a good first issue. Obviously, for limited runs like this, it's really hard to judge these until maybe midway through. But it's a decent start, and I'm enjoying Minutemen more than I thought I would. Alright, next up here is Action Comics Superman number 10. And this is pretty good. We're getting kind of these changes in Superman that I wasn't expecting lately. And basically we're having Superman's secret identity being known, so he has to get a new secret identity. And I wasn't really expecting this type of storyline, but I guess when Grant Morrison is writing the story, he's really going to mix it up. So I'm kind of curious how they're going to make this work. I wouldn't say this is my favorite. This was an interesting read, and it had some cool moments with the Justice League. I always like that when Morrison puts them in there. And but for the most part, I thought it was a good issue, and I'm really enjoying what Grant Morrison's doing here. Though I don't want him to mess too much with Superman. I don't mind him mixing it up, but I'm really curious how this whole secret identity being reestablished is going to work out. So, an interesting read, and action's been great. And from one legacy comic to the next, it's Batman Detective Comics number 10. This was a little confusing for me because this cover is a cool cover, and I know this cover because I've been seeing this cover in the previews to Night of the Owls, and I'm really enjoying Night of the Owls. I think it's a great crossover event with all the Bat books. I think it's being written really well. It's being executed well. Scott Snyder is really doing a fantastic job with this storyline. Now, of course, he didn't write this, but it's tied into his main storyline. Now, I know this was advertised in many books as a connection to Night of the Owls, and the last number 9 issue was Night of the Owls. So I was kind of confused when I picked this up, and it has nothing to do with it at all. It's actually starting a new story arc, which is, it was actually a good one. There's these Batmen, and they're just like Batman, different types of Batman, and they're like a team of robbers that were brought together, and they're trying to get some very wanted item for our main bad guy here. And Batman goes against basically other Batmen, and it's kind of interesting. The artwork's really good, the twists work well, and I actually ended up enjoying this quite a bit. But I still was put off because I'm like, look, I picked this up mainly because I wanted to read all the Night of the Owl stuff, and it had nothing to do with it. Even though obviously it's clearly not on the cover, still it was advertised, so that must have been a mistake. But anyways, it was a pleasant surprise. I've been enjoying Batman Detective Comics, but I've only been picking it up as of lately because of the Night of the Owl. So they may have caught me off guard, but it seems to have got me into the storyline. So maybe that was the whole point, or maybe it was just a mistake, but it still was good. I think Tony Daniels is doing a great job on Detective. Next up here is Earth 2. Now, Earth 1 was a real big surprise for me. I was really enjoying Earth... Earth 2 was a really big surprise for me. Issue 1 was quite good, and I was actually shocked because I picked up issue 1 of Earth 2, and I was like, had no idea what to expect. I wasn't really thinking I was going to like it. I just thought, I'll give it a shot. So, I started reading it, and I was like, oh, you know what, this is pretty cool. You have the daughter of Batman being Robin. I thought, that's pretty cool. And I thought, oh, her name is the same name as the Huntress. Oh, that's interesting. And I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. I kind of like this. It kind of reminds me of, Frank Miller stuff a little bit with how he mixed up characters and stuff. And I thought, oh, good. You know what? They're really going out there and really making Earth 2 feel like a very different, DC world. Sometimes too hard they try. Other times they don't try hard enough. But I was really getting a nice balance here. And then at the end, here's a spoiler alert, by the way. Here at the end of issue 1 of Earth 2, they killed off the Trinity. I thought, what? Well, they killed off Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and I think someone else. I was like, wow, are you serious? And I thought, well, this is really interesting. And I was really liking the whole Robin thing. And I thought, oh, she's watched her dad die. What are they going to do with that? So you're going to be a female Batman? And then I was like, that Supergirl was in here. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Is Superman going to become the only super in this universe? That's kind of interesting. I kind of like this. Those two characters actually were my favorite, and I was really looking forward to that. But I'll get more into Supergirl and daughter Robin because they tie into the next couple books I'm going to talk about. But they ended up not being in here, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's disappointing. Those are probably the characters I was most interested in, and they ended up taking those characters and having them come to the current DCU through a portal, so they're trapped on current DCU, but trying to get back to their world, and that is interesting enough. But I was like, oh, that's kind of disappointing. Those are the two characters I was looking forward to being focuses in this Earth 2. So I was a little curious if I was still gonna like this, but it was actually pretty good. Basically, it's a whole in a world without heroes. Because not only did they lose the Trinity, but they lost other big hitters. So you have all these lesser kind of B heroes having to step up. And you have this really cool twist going on with Flash. Flash isn't Flash. Flash is actually a god that's come back down to Earth. And it's just very unique. The artwork is absolutely great. I loved it in the first issue, and I'm loving the second. And even though I'm still missing the whole Supergirl / female Robin, I really wish they were in here. Still, I'm pleasantly surprised with Earth 2. It's probably been the one comic out of any comic that's surprised me the most. Really good, and I definitely recommend people to give this a shot and to pick up issues 1 and 2 and read them and see what you think. Okay, now next up here is World's Finest. Now, they had canceled some of the new 52, so obviously they're always going to have 52, so whatever they cancel, they're going to replace it with something. And what they ended up doing is launching the World's Finest. Now, here's what I was talking about. Basically, you have Supergirl and female Robin, who's the daughter of Batman. They have come through a portal because of things that have been happening, and they're now stuck in the current DC universe. And obviously by the cover here, Supergirl ends up becoming Powergirl, and Robin ends up becoming the Huntress. Okay, this is cool, this is interesting, and I do like this, but what's confusing to me is recently I read the miniseries Huntress that was the new Huntress for the new DCU. And basically this erases all of that, so I don't know. It's really confusing. I guess you take what I was reading as its own story, but I thought it was pretty good. I thought the whole Huntress thing was cool, and I thought they were introducing Huntress in the new DCU. They definitely made her different. But now we have this Huntress who ended up being from Earth 2, so I'm not sure what they're doing with there. But I don't like it when they contradict themselves, but maybe it'll all make sense later. But I'm a little confused about that. But in general, I love Powergirl. I like the Huntress. And even though I'm disappointed, I would have really liked to see a female Robin trying to revenge her dead father, Batman. I would have loved to have seen that. And maybe we will get that. But right now, they're just doing something else with it. Now let me get to the artwork. World's Finest is a comic that I've always picked up, before, and I thought, oh great, another legacy title. I definitely want to give it a shot. First, the positives. It's an interesting story, cool characters, and it's pretty well written. You have flashbacks, so current stuff, and then they flash back when they first arrived to this universe, and you're kind of going back and forth, and it works. Okay, here's a negative. they have different artists doing different time periods. So the artist who does the current stuff, I don't really like his artwork so much. But the artist that does the flashbacks, I love his art. So it's a bit of a mesh. I read both issues. Let me throw up the second one. First 2 issues, and again, you know, it's not that it's bad, it's actually good. And if you're reading Earth 2, it's kind of a good second book to get because it directly ties into it. At the same time, you could pick this up on its own and just really focuses on these 2 characters. So you're not getting the big world feeling that you get from Earth 2. But it is cool. These are the 2 characters I want to read most about, and that's mainly why I picked up World's Finest. But I'm not getting the satisfaction that I would have gotten if they stayed in Earth 2. So it's a real mixed bag for me. Again, if the artists that did the flashbacks in both these issues did the whole book, it would definitely be one that I would want to get, because I just really like that kind of soft pencil work and the pastel colors and stuff. But because the main artist really who does these covers and stuff, his kind of comic artwork just is not something that I really love very much. I mean, sometimes it's cool, but other times it just seems kind of blocky and messy. But it's not that it's bad, it does its job. It's just when I'm looking at the flashbacks, I'm thinking, wow, I really wish the book was like this. So kind of a mild recommendation. If you're reading Earth 2, yeah, definitely pick up the first issues of World's Finest and see if you like it. But if you're already reading a bunch of stuff and you only want to add something, if it's good enough, then I probably would say pass. Which is disappointing because I was really liking the whole female daughter of Batman type stuff. And Powergirl. I love Powergirl, so a little disappointed in that. Last up here is, it's actually a Marvel, but you know, it's Icon, so I treat it as independent. And this is a comic that came out a while ago. I just ended up picking it up, and that's Takeo, and it's Bendis, and this is the first issue. Now, what's kind of cool about this is it's an all ages book, so you can get this and read this, and maybe have your kids read it, and it's completely safe. You don't have to worry about it. At the same time, it's not a simple story where you won't enjoy it. It actually has some depth here, but they keep it very friendly. For all ages. I actually thought it was pretty cool. I think that the characters are very interesting. I think Bendis is doing a cool job introducing this type of world here. It almost seems like a G-rated version of Kick-Ass type thing, but it really works. You know, I like the main character and her companion there. And I don't know, I actually enjoyed it. I don't know if I'll be picking up any more, but I definitely enjoyed this comic, and I think I'll send it to my niece and see what she thinks. This might be one, if I could ever really catch it on trade, that I would pick it up, just so I can see how this character is written for the whole story arc. But with that said, those are my books for the week. And again, I'd like to know what you guys think of this. Did you guys read this comic? Is this something that you guys thought was kind of cool? Also, I wanted to know if anyone read World's Finest and what they thought of it. And Earth 2, if you guys are enjoying Earth 2 like I am. The other thing I wanted to ask is the Minutemen, obviously, if anyone picked it up, and how many people are picking up before Watchmen in your stores. So, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.